Superlayer is a brilliant new app that lets you add widgets to your Mac home screen, just like these. So when you've got the app from the App Store, you get a little Superlayer icon in the top status bar. Clicking on here will then let you go in and browse or edit the widgets you've chosen. Let's go on to Browse and we'll add a new widget to our desktop. From here we get a library of all the different widgets that are built into Superlayer by default. Now every single one of these is fully customizable, and I'll show you that in a second. But if we browse down the categories, we have things like calendar, reminder, clock, all those sort of things. I'm going to go on to analog clock, and we'll have a look at this orange widget here. Now I like this, but on the right hand side I can customize it to whatever I like, including showing the day of the week. When I've chosen a widget I want to use, all I do is click and drag it and drop it on my desktop. Now from here I can drag the edges to make it bigger or smaller, and if I click and drag on the widget itself I can reposition it on my desktop. You'll notice that I've got a grid over my whole screen, and this helps me line up and position my widgets. There's also a little floating toolbar right in the middle, and if I press that little tick button, that will then confirm where I want that widget to go. Okay, let's add a reminders widget now, and I'm going to style it to match my calendar and time on the left hand side. So I'll go onto the reminders option, and then I'm going to click and drag the reminders widget that's currently there onto my desktop. I can resize this straight away, and then I'll press the tick button in the middle to confirm that I'm happy with this widget. Now immediately you'll notice there's a background colour here, and that goes against my theme that I've got going on already, and also it's not displaying any data yet. So let's work on that and we'll customise this widget. Because we've added that widget from the library, any changes we make to the library version will update the desktop widget in real time. So that means I can choose what reminders list I want to have access to, in this case my YouTube video ideas, and then I can start going through other settings. You'll notice straight away that I've now got 4 reminders that show up on my desktop from that new list. The widgets will dynamically size to fit whatever content you've got inside them, and we can change all sorts of properties like the text size, the background colour, even the shadow that's behind the widget itself. There are options to really fine-tune this as well. So for example on the text colour, you can see there are 2 different colours that are in place at the moment. This means you can have a gradient effect, not just on the text but the background on anything. I only want a single colour, so I'm going to change one of them to white and then delete the other point just like this. Then I'm going to go onto the background colour, and I'm going to drag the opacity slider all the way down to 0%, which will make it transparent. I'm going to go onto the border and make the border width 0, so that won't show up either, and now I've got a widget that blends in much better with the rest of my screen. While I'm going through and fine-tuning some of these settings, I'll mention quickly that this is actually a new YouTube channel for me. I've got my iOS QuickTips channel already that you may have seen videos on before, but this is one dedicated just to the Mac, so if you haven't already, please do subscribe down below, then you'll get all the latest Mac tips as well as the iOS ones on my other channel. Okay, back to the widgets. I'll quickly go onto the text widget as well, and I've made a title already for my to-do list, and I'll just drag that on. Again, I've customised this already, just like I've just done with the reminders widget. Now, this is not an app for a quick and easy widget on your home screen. You're going to want to dig in and fine-tune all those little nitpicky details, but that's what makes it so powerful and so great. You can make your desktop look exactly as you like, with your own custom widgets. There's one last thing to bear in mind in this really short tutorial, and that is that the widgets can appear in different layers of your screen. Now you might be thinking, what on earth does that mean? But basically you can have your widgets on top of open windows, so perhaps accessible by a keyboard shortcut, or you can have them on the desktop itself, in front of or behind your icons. So if I move my little window across the screen to where the widgets are, you'll notice that the widgets are actually in front of that window at the moment. This isn't really the behaviour I want, so I'm going to change it from the super layer onto the desktop layer. If I were to go to wallpaper, that would go behind my icons, but because I haven't got any icons on the left hand side, it doesn't really make a difference which one you choose. Then, whenever I open up windows and applications, my widgets will disappear into the background, and when I minimise them and go back to my desktop, they'll be there waiting for me. And that's a really quick look at the Superlayer app for macOS. I'll put a link in the description down below so you can go and check it out, and please do make sure you subscribe to this brand new Mac Quick Tips of Jacob channel so you don't miss any more Mac tips and tricks.